Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. This is super exciting. Thank you, Bethel, for playing that video for us to get us started. I am going to turn this over to Jeff and Erin, who are our fabulous SAAEF chair and co-chair, and have just done a phenomenal job leading us in this work. So Jeff and Erin, off to you.
Awesome. Erin, you want to take the lead? Or you want me to? I'm good.
You go ahead and take the lead there, Jeff.
All right. So I'm still hyped from my Rise and Shine podcast. Like this is like my fourth cup of coffee. They keep coming today. Like I wake up every morning and I started my day every single day this week with Rise and Shine. And honestly, it was just it was a privilege. And I thank everybody for giving, especially COABE, for giving me the opportunity, because it was an incredible week. And today is not about it's not about us. It's about our fellows, and it's about celebrating the work that was done for the last week at Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. It was remarkable. I ended my podcast today, this morning, with a line that Adult Education and Family Literacy Week should not be just a week. It should be every single day of the year. We should be advocating for adult education. And one of the things that I want everybody to know is, yeah, you're making change happen, and it's really working. So we're going to spend today, Erin and I are going to kind of guide you through like a review of the week, because the one thing that was glaring about this week was the awesomeness of our SAAEF fellows. And everywhere I turned, you guys were all over the place. So we're going to kind of walk through, and Erin, maybe you can drive us a little bit and kind of walk through from your perspective the week. Like, what was it like for you? And then we're going to open the door a little bit for all of our fellows to kind of jump in, because I want to hear the stories from the ground.
Well, this week, by the time we got to Wednesday, I was just completely blown away by how much had already been done. That I thought, like, wow, like the week's over, and then here we are, and there's still more happening. So for those of you who are not in the SAAEF Fellowship, just to share there, we have like an internal kind of communication system, and it has been exploding with events, proclamations, op-eds, and just so many incredible things that our fellows have been doing at the local, state, and national levels. And of course, this week, Jeff, we got to spend a lot of time together in person, actually in Washington, D.C., where we did Flood the Hill. So on Monday evening, we got to kind of do an advocacy training, a welcome to DC, and then all day on Tuesday, from morning to evening, we were on the Hill, dropping off informational folders, talking to legislative staffers, talking to legislators, and then providing awards to our federal legislative champions. And just the excitement and everything that was happening there. I know we have fellows who are joining us today who were there, so I'll save the details so that they can speak to that experience as well. But it has just been phenomenal, and the number of proclamations is wow.
Yes,
and I know Sharon, you can speak to how many we are at, although every minute that goes by, it seems like we're getting more being sent to us.
Yeah, really interested, Sharon. Sharon, we know you were crazy busy all week, but from your perch as president and CEO of COABE, what did you see? How did you feel seeing some of the things that were going on this week?
It was amazing. I have to say, we just finished up an executive committee call, and I just want to thank all of the state advocate fellows, you, Jeff, and Erin, for your phenomenal work, because what I saw is, as we have been working away at this for years, really, right? Working at this Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week and making it the biggest celebration, is that folks are joining us at the local level, the state level, and the national level. So that was super exciting to see, whether it was, at the local level having an event, or at the state level going to the Capitol. Connecticut, hats off to you guys, did an amazing job at the state Capitol, or whether it was our fellows who joined us at the national level there on the Hill. It was just so much activity and excitement And I do have to give a shout out to Julie Knack, who just did a phenomenal job on social media, really pushing that forward. And so that was super exciting as well. And I also just want to say, for me personally, attending all those meetings on Tuesday, and when I went back on Thursday, so many legislators said, didn't we just see a group from adult ed here? So that was great. They definitely saw that we were there and active. So Jeff, it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. First of its kind, really.
So I'm just thrilled about seeing everyone, but I'm even more thrilled to have you guys on this call today, because there were some highlights for me, for some of you who you will be called out today. So you're gonna be voluntold to share, because some of your awesomeness was just ridiculous. Like, I'm telling you that it was just game changing when we talk about adult legislation, adult education, and AEFL week. So I want to turn this over to you guys, because I really want to hear some of those great stories. And I want to kick us off with somebody that I got to see in person. I got to touch and feel and say hello to. And she was actually part of our podcast and came on the Rise and Shine. And Ashley, I was wondering if you could tell us your experience. And I'm asking all of the fellows. We'll move you into onto our screen, but I want to hear your stories. What touched you? What were you doing on the ground? I know some of you already jumped in, but Lindsay, if you see people with their hands raised, I want to get them on the screen as well so we can hear from them. But Ashley, kick us off. Tell us about the week.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Ashley Janicki from Louisville, Kentucky. The energy around this week has been, I'm riding that high still. So going into the weekend, just so energized. I was able to go to the Hill and speak with some legislators and meet some other fellows, and just that energy across state lines feels so good, right? Like we're on the same team and we're all working to support adult learners and families, and just folks that are wanting to do better. And we actually hosted an open house here yesterday in Louisville, so in DC for a couple of days, and then had an open house for our program, and had some local legislators come and check out our space as well. So it's been a great learning experience and relationship builder. It's just, there's something about being able to like connect with folks in person and just do this amazing work together that has got me excited to we're going to move it to a month, a year. How long is it going to be next go around? So I'm ready.
Daily. Awesome. Thanks,
that.
Ashley. It was great seeing you.
And I do just have to ask Ashley as well, because I've been getting notifications left and right about proclamations. How many proclamations are you up to now?
So I think we're tied with Ohio and have 11. There might be a 12th somewhere that I just haven't gotten a picture of. So I took Sarah's example and cold emailed mayors, and I've just been getting emails of proclamations and from other directors. So I didn't do it myself. It was other directors across the state that were helping with it. So yeah, we're up to 11. We're tied with Ohio.
That is incredible. Congratulations.
That's cool. Great job. Just great job. Ted, I see you're on screen. I want to give you a shout. How was AEFL week for you guys?
Yeah, AFL week for McKay and in Michigan has been really good. We're going to have some more proclamations rolling in. We do a participant challenge, and a lot of our people upload them at the end of the week, either their press releases or some of the proclamations they receive locally. So we have several in. Our new director started just at the beginning of September, so they did a great job of getting out updates on tips for AEFL week and what we need to be doing. And so we had a great week here in Michigan. We're looking to build upon this with our new advocacy. We just had our advocacy meeting today at 10 a.m. And so people were being urged to submit those things for our challenge. But it was a great week. A lot of our literacy coalitions and groups. And on the others front, we're part of Advocacy Week. We're helping to write with that NTIA digital grant today, which is due the 23rd. So kind of advocating for our local group to get more. So I appreciate the chance to shout out Jeff, and Michigan's doing good things.
I love it. So great work. Who else is going to jump in the pool for us? I want to call her out because it was my highlight. So I'm gonna play host here for a second and take some priority. Dawn, can you come on screen? Dawn Hannah from Beyond Literacy in Philadelphia. Dawn, I'm still reeling over that day with you. I got to spend the day with Dawn on a team, but I don't want to burst any bubbles here. Dawn, can you tell us about the day?
Sure. It was fabulous. I think I called it fantastic on all of my social media platforms because it was truly, truly awesome. I spent the day with a graduate of our workforce program who, through work with Beyond Literacy, passed the construction and skills trades test after 4 attempts. And so that was fantastic. He now works for Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority with goal of ultimately landing a job at PECO, which is a local provider of electric and gas. And also with us was our employer partner representative from PECO, Keith Henderson, who may be on the call, I'm not sure. But I think we just had a wonderful time meeting people, talking to folks on both sides of the aisle who shared the priority of finding the connection, understanding the connection, and promoting the connection between adult education and workforce. I think of Khalid, the student, the graduate, as our why, and Keith Henderson, who was our workforce connection, as our how to do this work even better.
So what you should know was that we teamed up. We were all making the rounds that day, and when we flooded the hill, and honestly, I was invisible. Like all they wanted to hear was from our adult education partner. They wanted to hear from our student and their success story, and they wanted to hear from the employer and the great work that was being done. And Dawn, I came back and reported to Sharon and COABE that I feel really strongly next year we should really try everything in our power to get students and employers with us as we go on this hill day and this journey, because it's those stories that are so impactful. And can't thank you enough for raising that bar, because it was a great day. Really enjoyed it.
Jeff, you were essential to that day. You saved us many steps, taking us the back ways and shortcuts, but also keeping us our conversations targeted around what those 2 asks were. Because the conversations, with the student and our employer partner, we might have forgotten those 2 asks. So thank you for that, for keeping us targeted.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right, who's gonna jump in the pool next? Who else we got? I see Ted, you're on. Mike, Mark. Come on, just put yourself on camera and we'll get to you. There you go, Mark. Let's jump in the pool.
Okay, well, I thought it was a fantastic growing experience for me. It was my first adventure on the hill. I have a lot to learn still, but one thing that really impressed me was how welcoming the staffers were and willing to sit down and talk about adult education. One of our biggest goals for Louisiana coming up, and Erin knows about this, and Sharon, we are desperately trying to get student ambassadors involved so that we can bring them to the Hill, because we really need those voices. They're essential to advocating for our programs and raising awareness about adult education. So next year, I hope to have someone with me. And this year, I was so thankful to have a partner, Eric Baldwin, with me on the Hill. We had a great time.
Yeah, you guys were smiling pretty wide. I was watching. We ran into you throughout the day, and they were all excited where they're going next. It was pretty cool. Great stories, and thank you so much. Definitely a learning experience for everyone, going up there on the first time. But for me, I've been up there a bunch, and I learned every time I go up there, I learned something else, a nuance. And I will tell you that one of the things I took away from this is ways that we can improve the SAAEF program going forward. And with tips and tricks about being on Capitol Hill, I heard some people really upset with me when I forgot to mention that you can go down to the basement of the buildings and you can often find cafeterias there that have really good food. And they're like, oh no, we were like trying to find a restaurant after the fact. So we found and also some logistic stuff. So definitely lessons for everybody in all this. Who else wants to join us? Who else can jump on? Deanna, Mike, Angelique. Oh, Mike, there you go. Mike Emery, give it to us. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right. I love hearing all these stories about what was going on in DC this week. I was in state, but we still got some good things done here in Maine. I know we had a handful of programs who were able to get mayoral proclamations, which is excellent. And we had a couple of mayoral visits, local legislative visits, which was really awesome to see. And this morning I actually got to go to our workforce investment board has an annual awards breakfast, and I was able to go join them for one of our, not my programs, but an adult ed student won their youth participant of the year award, which was pretty cool. So it's a good chance to talk to business partners and other folks in the area about what adult ed does and the impact that it can have. And I think being able to really hear from someone who had such a strong impact and is doing such good things that she won an award was pretty awesome to see.
So, Mike, on that note, I will tell you that I had the privilege of giving Susan Collins a recognition award from COABE this year, and walked into her office. It was one of my first meetings, and she actually gave us a big hug and was just grateful that COABE was there and such a strong supporter of adult education, and so proud of the work being done in Maine. She had a few really good stories for us. Because a few of us weren't from Maine, and she really laid it all out there for us. But she's really proud of the work you guys are doing there. So kudos, and it's getting recognized on the Hill. Great
That's
job.
awesome. She has been a great supporter. Thanks.
For sure. Angelique, what do you got?
Good afternoon. How is everybody? I'm so excited to be here, and I was with you in spirit. Even though I wasn't able to be there on the Hill, I was there, and I kept tabs on you guys on social media, and I was really proud of all the work that was being done. One of our representatives, Mike Bost, he received an award, and I really had wished I could be there, but he's very deserving of it because he is a huge advocate for adult education. So here in the States, Southern Illinois, last night, I actually met with the Illinois Community Action Agencies Association, Stormy Jewell, and we were talking about advocacy efforts that we can do together across the state with community action agencies and educators working together to reach and educate our legislators for a common cause. And so I went on a talk show, a big talk with Bruce Stickey, and I also went on a radio show just to advocate for what we're doing for adult education workforce development. And I'm just so proud of our partners, and I'm proud of our legislators that are stepping up and that are seeing that there's a need and they want to be a part of the results, the solutions.
Wow, great stuff. Great work. And thank you for, we were talking a lot this week about flooding the Hill, but I think our biggest impact was locally. We had so many people on the ground doing stuff everywhere, whether it was inviting people in, seeing programs. And that's what this is all about. It wasn't about getting everyone in the world to Washington. It was about being an advocate wherever we were. And that's just remarkable. So thank you for all of that. Joel, you're on.
Hello, everyone. All right, so I'll start by right before flying over to DC, I had just received proclamation from the city of Atlanta, and that was exciting. It was a challenge at first because the way they have it set up is that they only kind of want to focus on giving proclamations to organizations in the city of Atlanta. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. I reached out to the president of the city council, and I told him about COABE and my work and my current role as a fellow here in Georgia and how important adult education is. And he put me in some contact, connected me with some of his contacts, and the proclamation came about weeks later. So that was exciting just to kind of start my journey to DC with that. And so just going there, I'll say that the energy was really, really great. I just felt like we were on a mission. That's what it felt like. We were just on a mission. And you just could feel the energy, and everyone was kind of just excited. And I was thinking to myself the whole time, my goodness, I'm 43 years old now. Where have I been? I mean, I've been to DC, but just to have that experience, going between the House and the Senate and all of that, it was just like, whoa, and I was just thinking about how important it is, when you have children to just like let them have those experiences, early on so that they can just really kind of see how things work on the back end. And I was able to spend some time with I believe Jeff Arnott out of Orlando. And we visited Senator Rick Scott's office, Senator Ossoff's office, and also Lucy McBath's office representative here in Georgia. And I think the highlight for me is when I was able to present the legislative champion award to Lucy McBath. She was really excited. Her staffers were very welcoming, and we had about a 30-minute conversation. And I mean, she just started off be comfortable, speak from your heart. I thought that was really, really incredible. And it was just being able to just explain the story. And she was very interested, in adult education and just kind of talking about how she plans to help to move adult education in our state forward. And I was just thinking really about just the power of storytelling. And like you said, Jeff, earlier, people want to hear the stories. And oftentimes people don't know what's really going on when they're just kind of going on in their own professional lives and in their world. But when you go and you present these stories and they kind of become one with you, they can see. And it's like there's this aha moment of, wow, we can really get on board with this because we see that it's something that's important and we are doing the work, we're changing lives. And so it was just great, and I'm very thankful for it. And I'm looking forward to going back next year, more prepared. And I think one other thing, I was with Jeff, and he likes Marco Rubio in Florida. He's supposed to walk over to his office and let me see if I can just get. And I didn't know you can just go into a senator's office and just request a meeting on demand. And I think that's something I learned. And you can ask, and sometimes you get lucky, and the staffer will make the connection, and you can go in and talk to them. But I didn't know you can do that, and I thought that was really, really cool. We didn't get to see him, but they were very helpful and very accommodating. But it was great, and I'm looking forward to going back next year, hopefully as a mentor. So thank you.
Yeah, I love it. That was awesome. Erin?
I was just going to say, and also Joel, like you got to meet somebody else from Georgia who you were not expecting to meet, like near the steps of the Capitol, right?
Oh yes, Miss Georgia. Yes, yeah, that was another highlight. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Miss Georgia was there talking about literacy. She strongly believes in literacy. Her parents were English learners, and she shared that. And I loved seeing those pictures as well, because it was just such a great reminder that adult education touches so much, and it touches so many different people, that I thought about that as we were walking around the hill of like, I bet 90% of the people I'm walking past right now, their families have been touched by adult education. Like could probably start a conversation with anybody and we would be able to connect over that. But yeah, it was great seeing you there, Joel, and you just jumped in, and everybody is a rock star. It's just wonderful.
So I am curious, Joel, just did you feel prepared? Like, were you ready for what the experience was like?
I would say I was a little nervous, but Jeff, who was just awesome, he kind of like coached me along the way and gave me all of these stories. And so just being with him, I just immediately felt comfortable and kind of just giving me, just ABC, this is what you do, this is how you kind of tell the story. And so I think it was just for me like a divine appointment, being able to be with someone with that type of influence who has done the work. And so, in that sense, I just felt ready because I felt like I had a coach with me who knew what to do. So it felt good. I'll say that.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more impactful when you're with other people. And I know Ashley, I think may have been by yourself on some of those meetings. When you have others that are with you that can kind of support you along the way, it's a big help because there's somebody to lean on and keep you on task and get you moving in the right direction sometimes. But just some lessons, going forward of, bringing some people and some folks with you to kind of make it all happen.
Right, and one last thing,
Sure.
we don't have a state association here, but Jeff and I were looking to get it going here in Georgia, get it launched. I know he said that he spoke to Sharon about it, and so we're looking for that initiative. So it wasn't just that, it's just that networking and what's going to happen after leaving Washington, bigger and better when it comes to advocacy and just really moving the state forward with adult education. So I'm really excited about that because that's something that we need here in Georgia. So
I love it. Awesome. 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 Anybody else want to jump in? We have a few other people that were on. Who else we got? There we go. Deanna. Oh, you're muted, Deanna. We want to hear you.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I was not able to go to DC, but we did have our state association annual conference last week, and I was able to present on the SAAEF role to try to get more interest for the next cohort. And that also included Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. So I presented to the attendees some suggestions and ideas why it's so important to celebrate. In West Virginia, we were able to get at least 8 proclamations that have been uploaded. There may be a few more that come through. We were also able to get a GED Day proclamation for Monday from our governor. We had at least 3 newspaper articles across the state about Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. And one of our initiatives was a little library, so instructors could request that, and we got 17 of those put up across the state with community book drives and keep those going.
Awesome. Great work.
Wow. That is incredible. And that is a way that's something that lives on, right? You can
Yes.
actually drive past and see that
Yeah.
impact. And that is wonderful. And Deanna, I have to give you a shout out because you said, I'm gonna try the op-ed. We're gonna see where this goes. And I was so excited when today you shared what was published. And it was just, it's so powerful because, again, the number of people who look at that before it even gets published, like you've
Yes.
already reached individuals and reached a new audience, and then it goes out broadly. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to call out, somebody had mentioned about just the cold call in an office. And I know, Dawn met, and her team met Senator Casey just in the hallway. Just walking down the hallway, he just happened to pop up. I think I just left on to catch another meeting, and you guys got to meet him one-on-one and say thank you. So yeah, you never know what's going to happen, and when they get to see a student, that really gets them excited too. So it's kind of win everywhere.
Yet another reason to bring those learners, because it was our learner who recognized him in the hall.
I love it. It's great. Anybody else want to share out?
Jeff, I just wanted to chime in and say that this was really fantastic on a number of levels. And one was that we heard from so many legislative staff and legislators that this was like even better than what we've done in the past, so they could see the numbers. They saw that because I was there the 2 days later, and they were saying that, oh, weren't you just here a couple of days ago? So that was one. But then also when I was talking to some of the appropriation staff, they were saying, because we did the Bria Charter School field trip where we brought legislators there and said, this is what could be if we had the funding, because it's an amazing charter school that gets $3,000 to $5,000 per learner, whereas we get about $500 per learner, right? So they were saying, hey, when it came time for us to really push on the funding side, we did, because we had been there. And so I felt like the work was really building off of the work that's been going on. And so that was just really impactful to see state fellows there, who many of them they paid out of their own pocket. They came either at the expense of the local program, or we even had a couple fellows even paid personally to come. I just think that's remarkable. And that's a first for COABE, to have fellows there that are doing that. So I just want to say thank you to the fellows who did that. It was just amazing. Yes. Thank you, sir. Erin.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Any other stories? Does anybody have a story of something that happened on the Hill that kind of got them excited? Something that you didn't expect to happen, or you know, reaction or something you saw. And I'll tell you last year, or it was last year that I was walking down the hall meeting with Senator, and he was just getting out of, he was from Kentucky, getting out of a session that they were having, celebrating Bourbon Week or something. And they were giving out bottles of bourbon. I was like, good timing, Jeff. It's like perfect. But anybody have any stories of any of their experiences where they bumped into somebody, or a reaction that they got about being on the Hill, or a question they didn't expect?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dawn.
Senator Collins' story of her learning about adult education and the importance of it by way of basically being unaware and putting her foot in her mouth and being, we'll decide, and giving advice. I thought it was very touching how reflective she was. And I don't want to get political, but I was nervous, you know, about speaking to someone on the other side of the aisle from the party that I belong to. And she was lovely, and she was open to learning and seeing things from another side. And I just really appreciated the opportunity to have that experience. It made the rest of the day less scary, quite frankly, even though the other folks I was meeting with were folks I maybe would have thought I'd be more comfortable with. It was still a nerve-wracking experience. And I think that meeting her as one of the first folks helped to sort of minimize that.
I love it.
Don, can I just say thank you for sharing that? This is Ashley from Kentucky. I really struggled with the day, and Jeff mentioned, you know, I was going and meeting with folks alone, and I will not do that again. Like, there will be someone with me no matter what. But at the end, I was like, what kind of impact did I had, and was this worth, you know, it was because it was hard and it was different, but like hearing that story, and then also just reflecting some, like, it was all worth it because it was a learning opportunity, and I got to spread the word of the work, even if maybe I did it a little clumsy or haphazardly, or, you know, but it's just so great to hear that story, and just, I don't know, it just empowers me to want to keep doing it. So thank you.
And kudos to you for going in alone. I mean, I had 2 crutches, right? I was not alone at all. And I was so glad that I wasn't. And so hats off to those of you who did it alone, because how brave are you?
I love it. Great stuff. Anybody else want to share?
I'll share a great experience. I sat down with a legislative staffer, and I will say, when I started advocating, when I started in the SAAEF Fellowship in 2021, I had it in my mind that for some reason, if I was meeting with a staffer, it just wasn't as important or impressive or impactful. And I've since found out that that is very much not the case. In fact, it seems like the most impact and the most traction that I've had with offices have been when I've actually talked to the educational legislative aide, because they know everything that's happening on a deep level, and they get excited about things, and they can continue to push and move things forward when I'm not there. But one legislative staffer was especially excited and curious and interested. And I think at one point, one of us on the team just said, like, wow, you seem very passionate about this. And she opened up and she said, yes, my dad is a retired school teacher, and he's been teaching now in adult ed in New Jersey, and he just loves it. He just keeps telling me all about it. So I really want to learn more, and I want to be able to help move this work forward. And she even made some offers. I mean, she let me know about funding available for local programs that would help to supplement what WIOA provides. And also said, you know, do you have a legislative champion who's sponsoring certain line items within our state? And if not, I think we have an opportunity to kind of be that legislative champion going forward. And I thought, I have been waiting years for this. And it took the right staffer with the passion So I'm really excited for what that might bring. So I fully encourage anybody who's like, yeah, I'm gonna reach out, but I'm just getting a meeting with a staff member. They have the passion and the power, and they have the ear of the legislator continuously for what I like to call that exhaustingly persistent advocacy that sometimes needs to happen when you're a legislator and you have to know about everything, but getting in with that person whose niche is education is really key.
Dawn, did you have your hands up?
I did, related
Yeah.
to what you just shared, Erin. We met early in the day with a staffer from Senator Casey's office, Sydney, and she's the person who's tasked with all things education. And after the breakfast, she spent a lot of time during the breakfast talking with Keith Henderson, our PICO connection. And then when we saw them later in the day, because we wanted to get a picture with the crystal, she brought someone else into the conversation who was the person tasked with workforce, because she said, I see a connection here. And so even that was just so great to not just reach out to the straight and narrow path of education, but to broaden the scope of it. I thought that was a learning for me, and something that I'll definitely keep in mind for future visits.
So I think one of the other lessons for this is that education doesn't happen in a vacuum. And we saw this throughout the podcast. We saw it throughout Capitol Hill. And kudos to Sharon. We've spent the last few years on COABE just kind of recognizing the intersections of where adult education is leading. And one of the ways is recognizing its connection to employment. And it's crazy that how impactful employment is in our country to legislators, how important it is, and then recognizing it. But then there's other things. We had a great guest on today from about learning in families and the connection between family learning and how important that is, and working in the disability sector with individuals, ESL learners. Over and over again, we heard from legislators how important it was to work with our non-speaking English partners in the country and educating students on the English language and embedding them in the community. There are all these intersections that we have, and COABE is getting it. Like, we understand that education doesn't happen in a vacuum in our communities, and we have to bring everyone to the table to make this happen. And I'm going to give a shout out. Sharon and I had a meeting in Pittsburgh not long ago, and we were working with someone that's in the center of housing. And that housing market, we have to understand that our students don't succeed because they can't do the work. They often don't succeed because of the challenges they face in life. And those challenges are so real for our legislators, and they have to hear them. So the more that we can bring them to light, the more impactful they're going to be. So yeah, kudos to everybody. I wanted, before I pass this to Erin, because I want to get some thoughts from her. I want everyone to understand something too, is that our SAAEF fellows are incredible, but being a SAAEF fellow in the cohort this year doesn't end. We have people on this call that are SAAEF fellows from the first cohort. Sarah, I'm thinking calling you out, but that were on from the first cohort when we started this project. And then it's become this community that's just alive. So every year we're hoping that our SAAEF fellows will continue to come to Capitol Hill Day with us and flood the Hill. That will be advocates for us. And that will be part of this great community that we've established that's growing now exponentially, which is remarkable. And then the other thing I want to mention is that we have to recognize that we are not perfect, and that Erin and I, we work together on this project with Sharon and the COABE team, but we have a lot to learn from the lessons of each and every Capitol Hill Day, each and every cohort that we have for SAAEF Fellowship. And we're going to promise to work and make it better every single year. But I learned a lot this year, and I took a lot of notes about things that we could be doing better. And one of them, I think, is just these little tidbits of reminding everyone that it's a long way from the House to the Senate, and those buildings are on the other side of the world. So give yourself a lot of time. But also little things like, I don't think we did a good enough job really explaining to our SAAEF fellows this year the legislative process. And that's super important to know. When you go into these meetings, you should know where we are on legislation that's pending and what what the navigation's like, how important the help committee is, and those people that are on it, and how we should connect with them. And that's something that I think we got to do a better job on next year, so that everybody understands the process and the targets, and really why it's important to meet with certain people, and that everybody has a role to play in Congress, and how we can hit their sweet spot and where that might be. So we'll do a better job next year, kind of educating people on that and getting you in the circle. So I think that's really important.
I just want to chime in, Jeff. I agree. There's that piece of it, but I also think just getting in front of the legislator, sharing the stories, which our fellows did, having those state data fact sheets, I mean, they are super handy. I attended another, I won't name it, another advocacy day for a partner of ours, and I didn't see that. There weren't the fact sheets. There wasn't the training. There was just kind of like, you guys know what to do. Go in there and, just tell your story. So I want to say thank you to Erin and Jeff who provide this intensive, comprehensive training of over the course of months. It really kicks off at our national conference at the pre-conference workshop. And then every month we meet and we have a 20 steps to safe success. Erin keeps us on track with all the documents and the time ticker that shows how we're doing meeting those goals. And so there's a lot that goes into training folks. And I also think that the piece where just telling that story, because one of the things we've said so many times is those adult learners, unfortunately, many of them will never have sit in front of a legislator or their staffer in Washington, D.C. and tell that story. Those overworked teachers who are the frontline, to our students, oftentimes will never have that opportunity. The local program that is typically bootstrapped and underfunded is not going to have the opportunity. So we are their voice. And going in there and sharing our personal stories and sharing the data is so helpful. So I just want to give a shout out because there's a lot that goes into the training. And so we might not know all about like the timetable of appropriations and that, but I think our SAFE fellows have, by you and Jeff and Erin, have been so well trained to be able to share their story and to be able to share those stats that are in front of them.
Anybody else want to join in? We do have a few minutes left. I want to make sure we give everybody some voice. We got a lot of hearts going on around here.
Oh.
A lot of love going on.
So I would like to say real quickly that someone's asking about the conference. What we do is we have an open application process where individuals that are shakers and movers and excited about adult education and advocacy can apply to be a state advocate fellow. So this is a call out to anyone out there that might be excited about potentially coming to DC with us next year or working with your mayor, your governor, or your member of Congress. You can apply. I personally interview each person that applies because I know they'll be talking to all these different people and representing COABE in the field in your state. And then we meet at the conference. We have a pre-conference, and then we meet every month thereafter. And Erin really equips us for Advocacy April. And then we work together on Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week.
Oh, good stuff. I want to give a shout out to Erin too. So in past years, Erin, Erin's taken the lead on so much of this program to allow me to just actually breathe sometimes and do my job and wear some of the hats that I wear. But Erin, thank you for all you've done. I know you've been the queen of base camp and certainly keeping us all on task all year long, and we all appreciate you.
You're gonna make me cry, Jeff. I get I get really sappy when it comes to advocacy, which nobody in my family quite understands. They're like, what really moves you? I'm like, advocacy. You should have seen the number of proclamations Ashley sent in yesterday. But I mean, that is I love the passion that I see in this SAFE fellowship and just the impact, like the exponential impact. So I can't wait until, well, it's sad that this week is almost over, but part of me can't wait to actually dig through all of the numbers of how many meetings have been had, the proclamations, and just imagine the impact that has happened throughout the country, especially in some of these states where we haven't seen as much movement in the past few years. And now as Sharon said, we've got movers and shakers, and we've got movers and shakers who are joining us on this webinar, but not on the screen. And I know you're there to the other SAAEF fellows, and thank you all as well. So it really is a labor of love. But you are changing the field, and thank you all for that.
So I have a what's next. So what's next for our fellows, and what's next for all of you is, besides our gratitude and watching you see what happens, to some of the initiatives that you've put forward. And one of the things that you should be doing is sending an email to everyone that you met with over the course of this week, even if locally, at a state level or federal level, no matter where it is. Even if it's somebody who visited your program, shoot them an email, send them a link to your program, invite them to your house, invite them to your facility. Let them see the great work firsthand of what you've been talking about. And I had a bunch of meetings this week, but about a bunch that were not on the calendar. And they weren't on the calendar because they were people that I had met over the last 7 years who I've networked with, who have remained friends with me. There was one senator's aide who've become very good friends. We met for coffee. Her sister works for me now. These are the way you build relationships. And next year, when you go to advocate on Capitol Hill Day, or you're in Washington, you should reach out and say, hey, I'm up on the Hill, or I'm in Washington. Let's grab coffee. Let's check in. Those are the people that once you get their ear, the relationship continues going forward, and they're super, super important. Yeah, we're not going to be able to do that with every senator or congressman, but their staffers are going to be around for sometimes years to come in a state, and those are the ones you want to create the relationships with. So that's the first thing is, make sure you send those thank you notes out, and then those success stories of things that have happened. And then continue to do the work in the field. There's so much happening in adult education right now. We all have to continue to do our work. This is an election year, so the reality is, legislatively, there may not be a ton of things happening getting across the finish line. But trust me, there's a lot coming down the pike, from funding issues to major changes and hopefully getting WIOA reauthorization through and other things. So be present, be aware of what's happening, stay in contact with COABE, and for everything, if you have a partner that's not part of COABE or an organization, get them to Sharon. Let her know that there's an organization out there that wants to be at the table, and let's get them in. I was proud to make a connection with my prior boss, who's now head of Apprenticeships America. And those are the people we want to network with. We want to be part of our family. So let's go forward and do it. We got a few minutes left, but I want to turn the ball to Sharon, because I'm curious of your thoughts and any remarks you want to have for the fellows.
Well, I do want to say, I do have some words for the fellows. I also want to make sure to properly thank others who joined us, which would be Shaketa Thomas, who took time from work, and Hector Martinez and Dr. Danielle Cox, who are from our board, who also took time off to be there. And I also just wanted to make sure to thank our staff. They put a lot of time into building out so many different components of this, the online work. There's been over 3,100 session signups for these sorts of sessions that we're having right now throughout the week. There's all the e-blasts that have been put together. There's all the social media posts. There's the website build out. There's all the work that goes into even meals. What meals we're going to have, where and when, signage, at these different events. So there's just so much behind the scenes that takes place. So I want to make sure to properly thank Michelle and Lindsay and Bethel, Erin, James, and Tamar, who all played a critical role in this work as well. So with that, I would also like to make a point to thank our SAAEF fellows, who are just phenomenal. I mean, it is just amazing to see the great work you're doing at the local, state, and national level. I also want to say Dawn is one of our incentive grant winners. She won at her program BLIT, won one of our awards this past year. And then you could see her bringing that same sort of work into the Hill. So that was really neat, because it was for the Workforce Partnership of the Year, I believe. So thank you, Dawn, for your great work there. And I think what I'm seeing just as a theme is that we're building upon years and years of, work. So we started this in 2020 because we saw what was taking place with the pandemic, and that a lot of the local programs didn't have capacity or the funding. The state associations didn't have capacity to be able to pick up the ball and run with it. So we started this fellowship, and you all have just done an amazing job. So I just want to say thank you for being the ambassadors. Thank you for being the movers and shakers. Thank you for being the connectors to the state association, to the state directors, to our student ambassadors. Thank you for uplifting their voices and going in and talking to legislators on their behalf. It's just been phenomenal. Those are my words, Jeff. I just think it's amazing. I'm really impressed and blessed, and I'm very thankful to be working with you, Jeff, for all these years since you've helped us develop this. Boots on the ground when we started it, just grassroots, getting it moving. And now you're the podcast host and the safe coordinator, or not coordinator, safe chair. So just thank you for all of that as well.
Labor of love. And it all started with Dawn Hanna, just letting you know, she was one of my first bosses teaching GED math. That's how I got my start. So yeah, it's crazy, but it's also important, and it is changing the face of the way we look at adult education in the country. So you guys all play a really important role on it, and kudos to all of you. And yeah, big shout out to our COABE board, who just is just incredible and amazing. Shaketa, you guys are all incredible. So thank you.
So you will see a report that's going to come out that shows, like Erin was saying. So Erin is our rock star in the background doing tons of work on this fellowship, and we're pulling together some data that'll show all the social media amplification efforts, that will show all the e-blast opens, that will show all the proclamations, all of the Hill visits, like so many different areas. So I just want to thank each of you who have contributed in so many different ways, and just remind you, if you haven't sent them in yet, go ahead and do that so we can count them. So how about Erin, we'll have you close us out.
Oh, goodness. You're passing it to me, and I'm just trying not to cry. Yeah, so congratulations for an incredibly successful National Adult Education and Family Literacy Week 2024. It wouldn't have been what it was without everybody. And take some time to rest. And then, hang on to that excitement, because now our next steps are, how do we make this sustainable, right? We can't flood the hill every day, but how can we keep this going? And there's already so much incredible work being done. But congratulations to everybody, and bring this excitement back to your programs and to your adult learners, and let's continue to move the needle. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at the next event. Thank you.